Hello, my name is Swiss Bianco. This is part 3. Memory card was full. So what I tried to say is accuracy with the night sight was not too well because the dots were usually dim. So you did not see too much. Even with the big hole there, you could not reach too much of accuracy. Then we have here the magazine is for 24 rounds. In this case, it's basically similar design as the LMG 25. The 25 was steel with a big slot in it and had some more rounds in it, but was single feed. But the locking parts were the same, so you could actually use that older magazine in the 57 as well. Anyway, this one was aluminium body with the steel parts riveted in. The feed lips were aluminium. And the 24 rounds, uneven number, that came because of the K31. 6 cartridges did go in the stripper and in the magazine, and that did just add up to 24 rounds. Of course, they had different other magazines, shorter magazines, 10 round as well for sporting purpose, but this is for the military version, and you had witness holes for 10 and 24 rounds. Now that magazine was unfortunately relatively bad too, because it was rather bulky with 24 rounds. The rock and lock inserting of the magazine was not too easy. There was no real bolt hold open design, so after the last round the bolt was simply closed and finished like by an AK. Nothing was holding open, and the feed lips were aluminium, so you had to check on wear relative often. Also the disassembly of the whole thing with the sliding floor plate was relative uneasy. They used a zigzag flat magazine spring that was already outdated back then completely, because a flat spring would break rather easy. They advised to use the bionet in its sheet to disassemble and reassemble the magazine, but we may go into that a bit later on. There we have the smaller magazine that is only for use with the Dreipatrone, basically the blank firing ammunition for launch the rifle grenades. So no real ammunition could be loaded into that metal magazine, because it was not long enough for holding the bullet. Plus we had here actually a built-in the magazine part that would keep the bolt closed if you wanted to. So that was a relative clever design there. To rack the bolt, you needed to press that button there, that you could actually rack the bolt, because otherwise it would be locked, that you had more energy on the rifle grenades because the bolt did not move. Using such ammunition and the blank firing ammunition, usually in a green polymer casing, was a rather dirty thing. They used a black powder, or similar to a black powder, and that did make the action rather dirty. Then we come to the bayonet, the typical dagger style bayonet with a leather frog that was to be worn at the belt. Another failure, cannot say anything other. So the bayonet was not sharpened and the point was dull. So you could that thing you could not use as a weapon in that regards. You could not use it as a tool for cutting anything. Plus they used steel on the blade that was not stainless steel, and then the quality was not there, and the whole thing was like having a chrome plating. So if you would have grinded and sharpened on the blade, that would have come off and flake off and all that. So it was basically the whole design was another failure there, unfortunately. So basically we had a stabbing thing that did not have a point, did not cut, that was rather bulky and heavy. It was quite a big thing, and to carry around, that did basically no purpose. They said if we go to war or if it really gets bad, those things get sharpened up by a grinder. Yeah, good luck with that. Then we have the cleaning kit, relative, I would say that's something of the best that I saw in my time, and the design of it, it's basically on a roll with 2 grease containers. Then we have the T-handle, we have different brushes, we have the cleaning rod parts in section, a nice metal rod. So that was really well done, compact, easy. I did use that a lot, also on other firearms, same design, then later on the SIG 550. That is really good. You could always replace the grease with oil, so that did work too. And there we see the Fettreserve. That was those little grease filled polymer things that I did say did go usually in the pistol grip, because after like 5-6 magazines that you fire with the gun, especially if you fire it in full auto, you should do a Gefechtsschmierung, a fighting lubrication. So you had to take the bolt out in the field, in the middle of the fight, you know, take the bolt out, put the grease on basically on the roller locking design, and grease it up and then shoot again. Yeah, good luck with that. Then we had some magazine carrying devices. Those ones we had, they did hold quite many magazines with the typical luggage grip. The leather ones we never did use. Those were basically used for spare magazines if you did not have it on the body, to carry it, say, in a car or something like that. So they were pretty useful. But since it was not a plastic, it was a cordura or something, fabric, you know, if that thing gets wet, then it's soaked. That was the negative on that one. Then the magazine Abfüll apparat, I did use that myself. I also made a video about it. Really good. Whoever designed that one, really well done. Never had much problems. So we have basically a device where you fill in the ammunition on top. The magazine comes in here, locks into place. You have the lever that you go with up and down, and it fills the magazines rather quickly. This you can only use with the 57 magazines because it's a double stack, double feed, and the double stack single feed LMG 25 would not fill up that way. You could clamp it with this vice clamper thingy, basically anywhere on a table, on a backside of a truck or something. Just clamp it on and fill your magazine really well. So that was a great tool. Came in a big wooden box. Was a bit, of course, heavy and bulky, but if you had the time and the efforts, that was really good. Then we come to the Ersatzteilbeutel, the spare parts bag. We had that as well, but it was not given out to the people, of course. That was just in the storage. So we see there the common broken or lost parts, the firing pin, that part here between the firing pin and the hammer, some screws, the pin here for the pistol grip, you know, and some screws and stuff there for the fore end. So that was in a leather bag. The leather bag was relatively nice made, handmade, in old fashion. Then we have the different ways to carry the rifle. Unfortunately, we don't have much pictures. Then it goes about loading the rifle. There was a typical procedure to load, unload, magazine change, and reload to use the gun. You needed to look that the rifle was unsafe, that the loaded chamber indicator was down, and all that garbage. So that was often used or trained in the military, and of course they check that the rifle is empty and that the barrel is well and all that. Here we see the typical side picture and the mistakes that you can do. We have an inline recoil. We see it has a similar inline recoil like the R15 M16 system. Therefore the sights are really tall up, especially here with the night sights. And since it's folding and non-locking, that created a lot of problems. Then we see here some more problems, or how you should not aim the sights, you know. Everybody that shoots know that. Also, as the bipod had a bit of play, so you could cant the rifle to the left and to the right. That was for sure good for use as a light machine gun, but for target shooting on a leveled nice range, such problems could happen, and then you have a bad accuracy. And there about shooting, how you pull the trigger, and yeah, how to correct the sights, of course with the Swiss Army knife. Yes, we're gonna see that. Just some information how you can adjust the sights, and here we see the adjustment done with the Swiss Army knife. We see here also the T-shaped charging handle as well. The plate is on black, on full auto. Then we have some information about disassembly. We have a small disassembly in the field for cleaning, and then we have a bigger disassembly. Basically that would be a smaller disassembly for cleaning, say every evening. If we did use it or not, the thing had to be cleaned and inspected. So basically you take the bolt out and the charging handle and have it like that, and then you try to clean the thing. By the way, here we also see the hammer with its little part sticking back there on top. We're gonna see that better in another picture. That little part there did break often away too. There we see disassembly of the magazine by bigger disassembly, using the knife to press in the thing and get it out. And here that would be the big disassembly, and we see here that zigzag spring on the bottom of the follower, and on top is the recoil assembly. We see the curved spring and all that, and on that part here we see where the recoil spring is in it. The square part is in front of the buttstock, the metal part that is disassembled with that little screw there. So it had quite some parts that could get lost too if you would do that in the field. There, reassembly of the magazine using the bayonet with the sheet to push down on the follower that that strange locking mechanism would go and lock back in place. Unreal, unreal. Then we have about maintenance, who does what and when and how. That is basically about cleaning, lubrication, and checking who has to be doing what and checking, and what you're gonna use. If you use grease, if you use no grease, you know, on the firing pin there is should be completely clean and no grease and all that. Here we have the interesting part, how the roller lock design works. So that's something I need to, yes, like this, we're gonna see that best. So firing is going towards this side here, of course. We have the black part is the receiver, we have the roller locking in it. We see in the middle the firing pin, there is the cartridge case. This is in the locked position. The locking recesses were replaceable and removable. That was a good thing on that rather expensive gun. Then we have the firing pin in the middle. We have that translation bar here, and here is where the hammer would hit on it to translate the force on the middle, to the middle of the firing pin. The hammer again was on the side, and here we see that recoil spring front pushing against the bolt. Then we have here the ejection with that part here that had that spring part on top, and basically over here on that part of the receiver, the part here would get pushed over and do the ejection through the ejection port there. So all in all, quite a complex machine for sure, with the overly complex, with all the technical details there. I would say a nightmare, and one problem did lead to another problem, and yeah, they had to work around different things. And if you did study German engineered trigger assemblies, it's one thing, but if you look at this thing here, yeah, then good night. Here we see how the ejection would have worked with that curve that it pulls it out. We never had much problems with ejection. It was rather violent in the action, and it did fly out rather far. As best as I remember, only the Heckler & Koch 21 that I had in Switzerland did eject even further. But yeah, some more information about the trigger. That's another point here that is technically interesting. We see here how some parts of the trigger work. The most important part is that part here, in connection with that wheel with the trigger part here. That was the full auto trip sear here. So by that curve that I pointed out by the bolt would have tripped that part downwards and would release full auto fire. Then we have here the plate that you could change from semi-auto only to full auto, and we see the bigger part is the trigger. Here we see the trigger and the safety selector in the safe position. We also see here that strange spring for the trigger. The trigger was a two step affair. like a target trigger. We see here the diagram of the sear and the hammer and the trigger in the Einzelfeuer, in the semi-automatic position. Here we see how it releases. So often as they altered it to semi-auto, that sear part here was changed, and of course the sear trip lever was gone as well, and the curve on the bolt. There we see the fired position in Einzelfeuer, in semi-auto. We see here also the hammer spring on the side, and the hammer was even further on the side. And we have already 20 minutes, so we're gonna stop.